Bill Gates owns over 270,000 acres of farmland. China owns over 380,000 acres of farmland. And foreign entities as a whole own over 40 million acres of agricultural land in the US. Why do you think that is? What's going on? And why should we, as the average everyday person, find a way to get into the farmland industry? Farmland conspiracies are running rampant in 2023, and I think for maybe good reason. When we look at an investor, an entrepreneur, a brilliant mind like Bill Gates, I don't think that he's getting into the farmland industry just because he likes farming. He has this ability to put on this Mr. Rogers-like persona. He seems like the nice guy, the likable grandpa that everybody can trust and believe in. But the problem is, he's not that. Bill Gates is an absolute killer when it comes to business. Talk to anybody or listen to any interviews from people who ever worked with him when he was building Microsoft. Listen, you do not build a company at the magnitude of Microsoft by being a nice, likable, loving guy. Just doesn't happen. You have something inside of you that is pushing you to do more, to create more wealth, and you don't just turn that off. So anybody who thinks that folks like Bill Gates or the Chinese or any other foreign entity hopping into the US farm life to do everybody a service is completely wrong. They're in it for one reason and one reason only: money. Okay, actually probably three reasons. You got money, but then also power and also control. And so in that vein, let's look at the first reason why folks like Bill Gates, the Chinese, and other foreign entities would be buying up our farmland here in the US. Now on the surface, it may look like they're just only going to control the pricing of the actual crop that they're producing. But when you take a deeper dive, you realize that it doesn't only affect the price of whatever the product they're producing it is, whether it be beef, lettuce, grain, corn, soybean, you name it. But they also are affecting everything that correlates to creating that particular product. We can dig in and look at what the price of seed cost, your labor cost, chemical costs, go through the entire gamut. When you control the majority portion of a particular industry, you then get to dictate what the pricing is for that particular niche. They're well on their way to being able to do this. The second thing they're able to do is actually control the rules of the farming industry. When you have enough power, not only in the farm world, but also the people who control the legislation and regulations based out of DC, you get to draw the line in the sand of what is allowed and what not is allowed. Check this out, for example, in Gates' book, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, he literally states that rich nations should shift entirely to synthetic beef. Entirely switch to synthetic beef. That means this man who controls a large portion of the farmland in our country is saying publicly that he thinks that we should not be eating real beef. Instead, we should eat processed beef. Do you think he's going to be able to convince the majority of Americans that that's what we should be putting into our bodies? No, he'll be able to get the squeaky wheel 1%ers who like to protest and have a cause to stand on the street with their signs and funky shirts to say, oh, we need to stop gas emissions in the farm world and we need to go to synthetic beef. But for the other 99% of people, they're not going to buy into the bullcrap. So what does he have to do to make that happen? He has to control the actual industry. And not to get too far down the conspiracy train, but I think it's kind of interesting that in April of this year, I believe it was, in Texas, they had the deadliest barn fire for cattle, killing roughly 18,000 cows, and that was in Dimmitt, Texas. Then I believe in 2022, 500,000 U.S. farm animals died in total from U.S. barn fires. And then let's not forget about the 100,000 chickens that were killed in a Connecticut barn fire, I believe earlier in 2023. So we can go down the list of these odd coincidences and say they are just that, coincidences, or we could buy into the thoughts that something deeper is going on here that is affecting our food supply, maybe not right now in the short term, but there's a grand scheme that it could have a lasting effect on our nation as we progress forward. Hey guys, when you're just starting out as a real estate investor, finding deals is the most important thing you can do, but unfortunately, it can also be your biggest hurdle. And let me tell you, it gets even harder when your business grows and you don't have a lot of time to look for properties and evaluate deals like you did on the front end. That's why you need to work with New Western. New Western has properties ready for rehab on their marketplace today. That means you skip the hours of research, driving neighborhoods, or calling agents, and instead, you get to start with a ready-made property. You can rehab and flip it, or rehab it and burr it and hold it as a rental. So why is New Western good at what they do? Well, they buy and sell a property every 13 minutes. They work exclusively with investors and value-add properties, and that's all they do. They're licensed agents, they have a network of lenders, and they'll help you grow your business. So if you're ready to jumpstart your next project, visit newwestern.com, join their marketplace, and access the largest private source of rehab properties in the nation. Then we could get really into the weeds of conspiracy theories. What's going on in Ukraine and Russia? Well, if you didn't know, Ukraine and Russia are known as the breadbasket of the world. They've obviously been fighting for going on 2 years now, and so the supply that they have been producing up until this point has reduced significantly. What does that do to the world and the surrounding areas who get their supplies from that region? Well, they're going to be cut short. There's not going to be as much supply, so as we know, that's going to drive prices up and make it more expensive for the consumer to acquire the foods that they need to survive and live daily. So, conspiracy theories now behind us. Why should we, as the average person, look to acquire farmland? Well, I think the first is very common sense. Number one, we can feed ourselves if we have land that we're farming on. If you care about your body, if you care about your health, and you want to put whole natural foods into your system for the long term, then you're going to need to start supplying food from yourself coming from your land. We're getting close, if we're not there already, to being able to not trust the food that we are buying from the stores. We don't know how they've been genetically modified, and soon enough, we're not even going to know, are we buying real beef or are we actually buying faux beef? The second reason that I think we should buy farmland or agricultural land is because of the stability that it provides as an investment. The stock market is a key indicator oftentimes of how our economy is performing. And so, unfortunately, the stock market can be quite a roller coaster ride. But the cool thing about farmland and agricultural land is it does not correlate with the returns that the stock market gives. And so while you may not be able to make as much on the upticks that the market provides, you're going to be able to supply yourself with a stable asset for the long term. And speaking of long term, when we look at the opportunities for those returns over time, we have to look and say there's more humans being created, which means we need more food. And guess what? There's less land available. And so as time progresses, we know the cost of food is only going to go up, but also the land that you own, that you're producing the food on, is going to continue to go up in value too. It's like the old timers always say, buy land because they ain't making any more of it. And then the third reason that we should get into agricultural land is for tax benefits. There are tons of tax deductions you get by owning farmland. And then the government offers a lot of grants and subsidies to promote the use of agricultural farming. Now, while I live in South Carolina, these are the qualifications for a property being considered ag use. Agricultural real property shall mean any tract of real property which is used to raise, harvest, or store crops, feed, breed, or manage livestock, or to produce plants, trees, fowls, or animals useful to man, including the preparation of the products raised thereon for man's use and disposed of by marketing or other means. Now, each state and local area is going to have different qualifications for what they consider ag use, so dig into the location where you live to see how can I take advantage of the opportunities to put my property as an agricultural use. So the last question is, well, how do we buy this agricultural land? Well, you can do it the old-fashioned way where you go put a percentage of money down and then you mortgage out the rest and you pay the mortgage, whether it be from your job or your side hustle, or you're producing enough income from your ag land to pay your mortgage. Second, if you're not able to do this by yourself, you don't have the income, you don't have the capital to be able to go and pay for an entire ag property yourself, then you're going to partner up with folks who are also interested in owning agricultural and farm land. There are tons of people, I guarantee, in your network, and if you don't have them in your network yet, go out, meet folks in your community who are looking to have a place where they can raise crops, they can keep livestock, they're into the entire farmland agriculture ordeal. Partner up, and you guys go buy you some land that you can start doing agricultural activities on. The third way that you can get into farmland and agricultural land investing is through doing what they call fractionalized investing. You have websites like farmtogether.com that give you the opportunities to buy into different farmland funds. So they've got crowd-funded farms, they've got sustainable farmland fund, they've got a sole ownership program, tenancy in common program. There's lots of different opportunities. Make sure you do your due diligence and know what you're getting into, but the opportunity lies so that you can get into farmland investing, whether or not you actually live on the property and control 100% of it. Look, guys and gals, whether you want to get into agricultural investing, either because you care about the future of what's going into your body and what's going into humans' bodies, not only in our country, but across the world, or two, because you want to diversify your investments, get stable returns, and buy an asset that they're not making any more of, it's worth your time to look into the farmland world and see, is there a place for you to park your money there? You only have one earth, and we only have one body. So if we can control the piece of dirt around us, what's being planted on it, what's being produced, and then what is ultimately going into our personal bodies to give us the best opportunity for fantastic health and longevity on this planet, I think it's our duty to explore that. If you found this video helpful, click the like button. It'll just make it show this video to more people. Then hit the subscribe button below. It'll notify you when we release new videos. That way you're updated on the latest and greatest things going on in the real estate world. Thank you so much for following, and I'll see you next time.